Exciting news for hockey fans and really any sports fans who are missing sports. The NHL is laying out its plan to get teams back on the ice. Now, this comes after the league put the season on hold back in March. So it is looking to bring games back to two different cities. Joining us with more details is TSN's Kayla Gray. Always good to see you from home, Kayla.
Good morning. Yes, I'm in the nice little corner here. We're getting very familiar with this spot.
Yeah, I see it on Instagram, and I love when I see it on our show. There are three
Thank
Canadian
you.
cities in contention here. What do we know about their chances of being picked?
Yeah, so Vancouver, Toronto, and Edmonton are the three hub cities that are still in consideration. Of course, a lot of concern as to why Toronto would be a city still part of that consideration process. As we know, Ontario is not doing so great as, say, Vancouver. Now, here's also something that they would run into is right now, the government is still very strict on that self-mandated or that mandated policy for if you come back to the country, come into Canada, you need to self-isolate for 14 days. So that might slow down things if they were to go ahead with having one of these cities become one of the parts of the hub cities. But also, maybe it just eliminates all the Canadian cities in general if they don't want to go through that hassle. They're hoping that maybe with a late July start, that might eliminate the problem.
Well, there's just so many details around all these new pandemic rules. Even if they head down and they play in the States, when they do come back to Canada, they'd still have to self-isolate after they visited the States. Hockey stopped back in March with 189 games left to play. Teams were left with an uneven number of games. So how is the league going to sort all of that out and then jump ahead to the playoffs, especially if it still intends to have a full season coming up for 2020-21?
Well, this is a moving target, AM, and this is where things get very interesting. Basically, that is a wrap on the regular season, and we are moving right into the playoff format, so the 24-team playoff format. So what they're doing is they got East and West per usual, but they're going to have a qualifying round for 8 teams in both East and West. Now, for the top 4 teams, so it's 12 and 12, right? The top 4 teams of each conference, they're going to get a bye during that time, and then they're going to head to the second round, but they're going to have 3 round-robin games to determine their seeding. So you could see something where, say, the Philadelphia Flyers, who actually finished 11 points behind the Boston Bruins in the East, they could actually get the top seeding if this format plays out that way. So it'll be very interesting to see how things go. Of course, I think the biggest takeaway that I would like to say from this is, when it does come back, because we don't have a date, this is just what it's going to look like. And I think that that's the biggest takeaway from Tuesday's announcement.
Only 3 of the possible 10 hub cities that you refer to are located in the East. So then what could that mean for the Eastern Conference? There's so much math to work out.
Oh, there's a lot of math, and I do not know if I'm qualified to do all. I'm just like off the equation. But the NHL is very comfortable with saying, hey, if it so happens that we only can accommodate for 2 teams out, for 2 hub cities rather, out west, then we are also able to just have the East teams play in one of those and just kind of designate that hub city as the East city. This is something where they've been in a lot of conversation with the NHL governors, the NHLPA. We know John Tavares has been involved in a lot of those calls and conversations. So there's still a lot of things to iron out. Think about this. That was a 29-page, mandate just for them to get back to their market to do their training, right? To do their socially distanced training. So this is, if that was the case for just that, imagine the type of language that's going to be used when we're actually seeing games come to fruition.
Kayla Gray, really quickly, if teams are allowed to practice in June, which is coming up next week, on-ice sessions will be non-contact. They're going to involve players who have to maintain physical distance. How can they do that with these rules in place? I'm trying to picture it in my head, and I just can't.
I can't either. We've known, if you watch hockey, the non-contact happens with injury, but it'll just be interesting to see guys with their conditioning. Of course, everyone's been responsible to make sure that they're keeping up with their own conditioning and with the fact that they want to keep in good shape. But getting all together, it's still a challenge. Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching. If you like this, be sure to subscribe here.
And you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.